Hello everybody, welcome to Riding the Pine Live, RTP Live. This is Lou doing his absolute best Jake impersonation that he can. I don't know how he keeps up this cadence. This is exhausting. I'm already tired. Wow, okay, you can read the names of the other people that are here. They're Dom, Joel, Ryan. Ryan is our shiniest host. He's like a shiny Pokemon of a host. He's exceptionally rare, but he is here. And so, I know, but that being said, he's not like a shiny Gyarados. He's like a shiny, he's a shiny Voltorb. You know, he's there, and that's neat. But no, Ryan, welcome back to the show.
Rating in Gen 1.
Guys, how is everybody doing tonight here? Not you in the tech, not you in the chat. We don't care.
I'm doing pretty great.
Everybody doing good?
We got some great time planned for tonight, so.
Yeah, we had some technical problems. Sorry about that, everybody. Joel's computer had, it was curable, so it was like, gonorrhea. It was like computer gonorrhea is what I would call it. Because it was totally curable, and we were able to figure it out. But we got out of the way. We are celebrating a couple of things today. There is no national food holiday that we give a crap about. But we all saw last night the Boston Red Sox were eliminated from the playoffs, which makes me exceptionally happy, being someone who doesn't like the Red Sox, mainly just because I hate how popular they became in the mid-2000s because they were losers for 86 years, and then all of a sudden they won and they became popular. Hated it. But someone who I love, someone who I think all baseball fans love, including Yankees fans, everybody all around the world loves, David Ortiz, Big Papi. Big Papi walked off last night in a loss. It was an emotional moment for him, obviously. Boston has meant a lot to him. Coming from the Dominican Republic, wasn't sure what he was going to be able to do with his life or what his prospects were. Comes to the United States, becomes a worldwide superstar. And to celebrate, we have sort of taken our own twists. Now, we're all from different parts of the country, but we've all taken our own twists on what is one of the most iconic, one of the most popular foods that really captures the heart and soul of Boston, and that is the hot roast beef sandwich. And Joel, I know, has made one, and I think Dom has something over there too. I went the traditional route, and it's messy as hell, so I can barely hold this up. But what have we got on here? We got some provolone, Munster cheese, roast beef. I put some pastrami on there on a sesame seed bun, a little bit of horseradish sauce, a little bit of onion, some barbecue sauce, and put it in the oven for about 20 minutes, and it's falling apart, and I'm starving. Joel, tell us what ridiculous concoction you made.
So you told me that there was a breakfast option that they've been doing in Boston, so I decided to go that route. I love anything breakfast. You put an egg on anything, I'm a happy man. So what I did is I got some Tennessee breakfast sausage, made like a super long patty in there. I got one of the world famous Publix subs.
Is that a Big Papi sausage?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You call this sandwich Big Papi.
Yeah. So sauteed some onions down in butter on my roast beef sandwich, and I got some mayo with some Dijon mustard over easy egg for the runniness. Delicious. What about yours, Dom?
So there are two really legendary sandwich shops down here in Syracuse, and this is from one of them. This is from A La Mode, which is this little cafe that very few people other than locals know about.
The name of your cafe is With Ice Cream?
Yes, it is.
That's the name of the cafe, is With Ice Cream.
Yes, it is. And
thank you, Little Miss Sunshine, for teaching me a little bit of French.
You're welcome. So this
that
is
wasn't you,
just,
that was a reference
they
to
make
a movie.
Absolutely wonderful sandwiches. So I've got a roast beef sandwich, one of their signature sandwiches called the Italian Stallion, fitting, which has roast beef, mozzarella cheese, olive oil, and roasted peppers. So it's going to be a good one.
And I've got nothing because I'm a failure.
So. Ryan, you're not a failure because a failure tries. You didn't try.
I didn't try.
You didn't try
right.
at all. How's your disc golf going?
Nope.
Did you disc? Did you win?
I didn't win.
Did you did you get a Spelunk point? Is that I don't know.
A what point? No.
A Spelunk point or I don't know. Wait, how high is the average disc golf player while they're playing?
Extremely.
Really?
Yeah.
The only way to do it, I guess.
Yeah, a lot. There's a lot of that going on usually, except in big tournaments and stuff where it's not allowed. But casual rounds and stuff, yeah, there's a lot of that.
bunch of friends getting really fucking baked and going to.
Yeah, I mean, I just wonder, like, I mean, so then obviously then it's not particularly competitive, and nobody's like in golf, people will break their clubs or throw them into a lake or something. Obviously, nobody gets that angry if they're just baked all the time playing it.
People do get that angry. Yeah, I've seen one guy that I play with regularly throws a disc into a lake or pond or river every time I play with him. So.
How much do said
I was
discs
gonna say you can't
cost?
really break those, right?
Yeah, they're hard as hell.
They're
aren't
breakable, but it's pretty tough to break them. Yeah.
they? Yeah. How much does one of those discs cost?
What was that?
How much does one of those discs cost? Like, give us a financial repercussion to him breaking that.
Well, there's different types of plastic. There's your like regular plastic, which can be like under $10. Then there's your mid plastic, which is like 15 to 16. Then there's your premium plastic, which can go up to 20, 25, even 30. And it just depends on.
And if someone's willing to get mad enough about something, I'm willing to bet they're serious enough about it. He's probably paying for those $25, $30 ones, huh?
Oh yeah,
okay.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I'll tell you, it's amazing how bored. Talking about David Ortiz real quick, it's amazing how bored. People have talked about it as far as news in the past, how news has gotten ridiculous at times with these 24-hour news networks like MSNBC and CNN and Fox, etc. Whatever you think about those individual, I don't care. ESPN today literally had a segment. I was sitting here, I was at a barbecue place grabbing some lunch, and they had a segment, and it said David Ortiz, and I thought it said David Ortiz Hall of Famer ? It was... when I actually read the captions as to what they were talking about, will he be a first ballot Hall of Famer? Which, quite frankly, I mean, the first question, is he a Hall of Famer? We're not even going to answer that question. That's fucking stupid. In my opinion, is he a first ballot Hall of Famer is equally stupid, isn't it? I mean, clearly he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I mean, I'm embarrassed we have to ask the question, right?
It's just begging the question, honestly.
It's just ESPN filling time, right? This is just the baseball equivalent of is Joe Flacco elite, right?
That's a very good comparison right there. Yeah, absolutely.
Ryan, I mean, your opinion. I mean, there's no way this guy's not a first ballot Hall of Famer, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's got to be. He's like almost 2,500 hits, well over 500 runs. This guy's a monster. It's ridiculous.
The single greatest postseason hitter of all time, without a doubt. I mean, literally single-handedly brought the Red Sox back from the brink, and with the biggest hit in the history of the franchise over the last 86 years. I really thought that was funny how ESPN was wasting our time with that one, and it just, I don't know, it just didn't make any sense. Speaking of things that don't make any sense, we're going to talk about Dom's Dallas Cowboys here. So, on our show last week, and our segment, we don't really have a name for it yet. I think we're going to call it the Skip Bayless Second or something like that. I don't know, where we all made a stupid prediction about the NFL week 5 in the NFL. I predicted that the Cowboys would beat the Bengals at home by 2 scores. They did. Handedly. They dominated them through the entire game. Bengals didn't get on the board until the fourth quarter, so congratulations, Dom. Looks like you finally have a quarterback since Troy Aikman. Tony Romo shot. Yes, no, maybe. Dom, where are you right now as a Cowboys fan, hearing Jerry Jones today on 105.3 The Fan coming out and saying, because we can't figure out if this old man has just caught Alzheimer's really quickly or what, because he comes out and says Tony Romo is the starter of this team a week ago. He's going to start regardless as soon as he comes back. Then he says about Dez Bryant today, who apparently just has a minor fracture in his knee, we're going to be very cautious about bringing Dez back. Dom, what the hell?
So I'm going to say what everyone's thinking and say it makes no goddamn sense. But let's examine why it doesn't make any goddamn sense by looking at the Cowboys' current situation offensively. So we've got Dak Prescott, who people say, oh, he's not losing them games, he's doing just fine. He's made some pretty fucking incredible plays. He's mobile, he's able to get outside the pocket, and he has made some 70, 80-yard bombs with pretty amazing accuracy, honestly, for a first-year quarterback in the NFL. He's got a great running back in Ezekiel Elliott, who has exceeded the high expectations that people have placed on him.
Debatably the best running back in the NFL right now. Hasn't coughed off the ball, has been finding the end zone, averaging 7.1 yards per carry over the last 2 weeks. arguably the best running back in football.
Absolutely, and he's got a surprisingly deep receiving core too. I mean, Des Bryant's obviously a superstar, but you've also got people who have just done their jobs well, who have been able to consistently catch the football. And I don't think that can be underestimated because we talked about the Megatron effect in the past, where having one superstar receiver really does kind of put you at more of a disadvantage than you'd think. But honestly, like Beasley and damn it,
Terrence Williams.
Yeah, Terrence Williams. They've been serviceable.
Jason
they
Witten,
really
who we all said was undraftable in fantasy leagues at the beginning of the year. He's not a top 10 tight end right now, but he's definitely a tight end too. He's definitely startable in most leagues, I'd say.
Absolutely, he is. It's just incredible how well this Dallas offense has really been put together out of nowhere, seemingly. And honestly, they're not a dumpster fire on defense. Granted, they're no powerhouse, but they were a lot better than everyone expected them to be. So I just don't see why you'd ruin a good thing, especially with a man like Tony Romo, who just will not stay uninjured. Honestly, he will, even if he comes back and he's healthy. Who knows what the hell could happen? He's not as mobile as Dez, even if he is. I mean, not Dez. Sorry, Dak. even if he is more accurate, which he admittedly probably is on a good day. It's going to mess up the way that the Cowboys have been playing offense, even if he is healthy. And I don't see why you'd change a good thing unless you get to the playoffs, and you need a viable, time-honored method, I guess. But that's just my.
Yeah, I got to tell you, with the running game you're talking about with Ezekiel Elliott, I think one of the things that's helped him be so successful is Dak, because he gives that threat coming out the backside on bootlegs or whatever else. Because he's a running threat too, they have to save a linebacker to that side, make sure he doesn't get free. And obviously, that offensive line is still arguably the best, at least top 3 in the league.
Right.
So that's helping both of those guys out. I think you still need to rest Tony Romo at least another week or so. I mean, don't try to come back right now when you guys are on a winning streak.
I mean, even if Dak was only performing averagely, which people seem to think he is, he's not. He's doing very well for a first-year rookie quarterback, thrust into an unstable situation with a lot of questions being asked. So my hat's off to him for his performance, honestly. I was really railing on him in week 1 because he did make a couple mistakes against the Giants, but
I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to, actually.
But I've changed
that
my
you were
mind
railing
based
on him.
his...
Not that he made mistakes. I was going to bring up that you were railing the shit out of him week 1.
Yeah, I was. I admittedly was, but I've come around to him. I think he's got the skills to succeed in the future, and I think that not resting Romo for more than literally the minimum for a broken spine is playing with fire for someone who's normally healthy, much less the balsa wood god himself.
Ryan, please calm down, okay? I will get you in. I will let you speak, Ryan. Okay?
I'm waiting.
God,
I'm waiting for Don to put his
The floor is your... Okay, Ryan? All right, fine. Everybody, you got to give King Ryan his space. He's got something to say.
Here we go. I think at this point, they need to ride the Prescott train as long as possible. Because looking at his stats, just in the month of October, he's 41 for 56 with 472 yards and 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions.
He's completing 70% of his passes on the year.
That's insane.
That's Tom Brady level.
Yeah,
I mean, is he threading the needle like Tom Brady? Is he making Tom Brady throws? No, but he's got the same record as Tom Brady's team.
Yeah, it's if you put Romo in when Dak's this hot, you're gonna fail as an organization. That's just how it's gonna work.
So what do you guys see? Let's say, and I don't see this happening because the Packers defense is a lot better than we thought it was. Dak has been significantly better than we thought he would be. Ezekiel Elliott has been significantly better than we thought he would be, but they're still rookies. They go into Green Bay next week, and they beat the Packers. In Lambeau, they beat the Packers. Tony Romo runs out, and then they have their bye week. Tony Romo runs out there week 8 out onto the field. They're in AT&T Stadium. They're in Irving. It's not in Dallas, people. It's in Irving. how does the crowd welcome him back? Is it adulation, or is he booed out of the fucking building?
I don't think he's booed just because he's done so much for the organization, but I feel like it's not going to be the warmest welcome. The crowd's going to be wondering, where is Dak? You know what I mean?
I think it's going to be tepid at best. I'm not expecting them to boo him or anything outrageous because, I mean, Jerry Jones has shown Dallas fans are remarkably loyal, even in the face of a good thing. But I don't think everyone's going to be quite as excited about the return as Jerry thinks we all are, honestly.
Joel, what do you think?
It's just going to be another one of those cases where the quarterback, if they do,
Joel, we're losing you there for a second.
back to Rowe, is going to be the most popular guy. I think
Joel?
everybody loves him.
We got him.
Yeah. Sorry.
No. You know what? I completely disagree with you guys. I think Romo's going to come back. It's going to be flat in the building. And if he gets sacked once, if he has to scramble out of the pocket on a third down and throws the ball away instead of taking a chance, or if he takes said chance and throws an interception, at first it will be boos. And then when he starts to run back out onto the field once they get the ball back, you're going to just hear, "We want Dak! We want Dak! We want Dak!" That is going to echo through AT&T Stadium. And until Dak Prescott comes in the game, I think that the fans are going to chant that. Guys, everything that we're hearing on sports talk radio down here in Texas, and granted I'm in Houston, not in Dallas, is what the hell is Jerry Jones thinking? What is wrong with this guy? How can he put Tony Romo out there when you're riding the Dak Prescott train? If you wouldn't have put Tony Romo out there, if you would have took Tony Romo out when Drew Bledsoe healed up from his shoulder injury back in 2004? 2005, whenever that was.
Right.
Whenever it was. Mm-hmm. If you would have done that, you would have never found Tony Romo. How do you know Dak Prescott's not your new Tony Romo? He's not your new future of the franchise. So it would be one thing if this was happening like with the Redskins, or if this was happening with the 49ers or somebody like that. The fact that it's happening with a guy who did this a decade ago and just forgot how he found Tony Romo is just mind-boggling to me. I just don't understand how this can happen. What are you guys? Well, here's a prediction. What are you guys looking at? I mean, they're clearly not going to be able to beat the Packers this upcoming week, right?
No, I don't see it.
Yeah, I'm not betting on them.
Brian?
Aaron Rodgers is still a monster. That Green Bay defense is.
Yeah, I don't think Dak Prescott can outduel. I don't think Dak can outduel Aaron, because Aaron can outduel you if he needs to.
Well, the Cowboys
Aaron
defense looked pretty
Dak.
good against Cincinnati, but.
Yeah, and Aaron outdueling Dak, I don't think Dak wins that, but man, Green Bay's secondary has not been looking too hot as of late, and I think Dak and Ezekiel could take advantage of that.
Well, I think it's a little deceptive with the stats on their secondary, because people have been throwing the ball against them. They've been testing them all game long because the Packers are getting up early on people. You know, with the exception of the Minnesota game, the Packers have been dominating games, and they've been winning shootouts against people, so people have been having to test that secondary. Their defense has been on the field a whole lot. Speaking of another quarterback situation, so we'll see how that one folds out. We've got another one, but it's a quarterback situation. At least in Dallas, it's a good problem to have when you've got two good quarterbacks and you don't know which one to start. In Chicago, we've got a disaster of a situation. The fans are, from what I can see online, the fans are totally behind Brian Hoyer at this point, which is a sentence that I don't think any human being until the past week has ever said. I don't think that pattern of words has ever been said at one time before. Jay Cutler, still out with a sprained thumb. He's expected to be available to return to practice this week. Brian Hoyer still hasn't thrown an interception. Brian Hoyer has been he's thrown for over 350 yards in every game that he's played in so far, and multiple touchdowns. Despite the fact that they lost that game against the Colts this past week, guys, you got to stick with Hoyer here, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been kind of on the opinion of this show that Cutler's kind of overrated, honestly. I've
if by
never
this show
really...
you mean all sports talk that's ever happened ever.
Yeah, pretty much. But I mean, even if I just don't see a reality where Hoyer is not your guy. He has been performing very adequately on a team that has absolutely nothing going for it, honestly. So I think you got to stick with him.
And of course, in that division, I mean, the Bears at this point, they're not going to be able to catch up to the Vikings or the Packers, right? There's no way.
No.
So
Just impossible.
So let me ask you guys this, because something that's come up. We started talking about it earlier today amongst ourselves in our chat, and everybody's been talking about it online. Let's say Jerry Jones is smart enough to keep Dak Prescott, and he says, you know what? I don't want to carry the $73 million from Tony Romo anymore. I'm going to let him go. It's a far-fetched idea. Where do you guys see being, Joel, where do you see being a team that, A, would pay for Tony Romo to come in, and B, where do you think...
Oh, don't worry, he gave us enough of the question, and...
Yeah.
And then we all dropped.
We're fine, we got it. Joel, I'm sorry. So, A, do you think...
Right.
I want to go around the room. So, do you think that Cutler and Romo both have a future left in the NFL, and if so, where do you see it being? Do you see it being with their current team? Do you see a team who could use one of these guys? Go ahead.
Well, Cutler's the harder, chance for me. He's been in a few different stops. The coaches don't always get along with that guy. The media, or the fans, don't like his attitude and all that kind of stuff. Tony Romo, a few people have floated out the idea, and I actually kind of like Browns should be throwing whatever they can at the Dallas Cowboys to try to get Tony Romo. They need quarterback help terribly, and that could be a spot where he can land. He won't like it, but he'll play there.
What do you think, Ryan?
I could see Tony Romo possibly going to the Rams. I think they're looking for a quarterback. There was some talk on ESPN radio recently about the Rams looking at either Trevor Siemian or who's the other Denver quarterback?
Paxton Lynch.
Paxton Lynch, yeah.
Yeah.
And there was talk about Denver giving up one of those two guys to the Rams, and I could see that. And Tony Romo's another option. And as for Cutler, I think he's probably spending the rest of his career as a backup, honestly.
Really? What do you think, Dom?
Yeah.
There's got to be a special mix of desperation and money for Tony Romo to be traded away, honestly. And I don't know if any of the teams that have that mix have anything they can offer the Cowboys in return. So it's got to be for draft picks, honestly, which most of the teams who are desperate and have money also need. So I don't think I think teams would want Romo, but I don't think they have the means to acquire him right now. And for that reason, I'd say he stays where he is.
I completely agree. My thing is any team that could really use Romo either A, isn't in a position where they can afford to do so, because keep in mind Romo still has another $73 million that Jerry Jones owes him. And I can't see somebody taking on that contract at his age and with the, as you said, I mean the guy's made out of balsa wood. I don't see somebody taking that on. The other thing is the teams that you talk about that do have that money, who can go out and do that. I've mentioned it before. I don't see an Andrew Luck absolute can't miss franchise-changing player, but this is one of the deepest quarterback drafts we're getting ready to go into in years this upcoming year. Mm-hmm. You've got, you might have 5 quarterbacks go in the first round. I've listed them off before: Kaiser, Watson, Kelly, Kaya, somebody I'm missing there. Somebody else. Dobbs. You're potentially going to have 5 quarterbacks going in the first round. If the Browns are going to finish with the number 1 or number 2 or number 3 overall pick, man, I say fuck it. Well, let's not go get Tony Romo, who's made out of balsa wood. Let's go out and let's draft, Deshaun Watson. Let's take a chance on him. Or let's go out and get, Deshaun Kaiser or one of these guys. So I don't think that the Browns would be somewhere where somebody would wind up. L.A., man, how does that look for them if they traded away so much to the Titans to move up into that number 1 overall spot so that they could then just go out and sell the farm to get Tony Romo? I mean, just from a PR standpoint, they can't do that, right?
Absolutely not. They'd lose a lot of credibility with their fans. They'd think the management was screwing them over, and honestly, they might be right.
I mean, Ryan, do you think that they'd be willing to cut bait on Goff that quickly?
Probably not. I mean, they do need a quarterback there, but like you said, I didn't think about the contract. That's $74 million. I don't think any team's going to want to spend that for a injury-prone old Tony Romo.
The only way I could see Romo, and I'm still talking about Romo specifically, the only way I could see Romo being moved, I think Dak would have to come in and have to take him to the NFC Championship game at least. I think Dak would have to take them, as Stephen A. Smith put it on First Take earlier this week. They shouldn't even put Romo on the back of his jersey. His last name is Jones. He's Tony Jones because he treats him like a son. The only way that I could see a team being able to take him with the amount of dead money and the amount of guaranteed that he has against him is if somehow Jerry Jones, and this would be an unprecedented amount of money, were to pick up a third. We've had teams pick up, like, for example, the Colts are paying for half of Andre Johnson's salary this year, even though he's with the Titans, but he's making $4 million. That's $2 million. The only way I could see it is if something like Jerry were to pick up $25 million worth of Romo's contract. That's the only way I could see. Yeah. I could see them doing that. As far as the Bears, I think Cutler stays exactly where he is. I think if they were going to cut this guy, they would have done it in the past when they had shots at top-tier quarterbacks like they've had over the past 3 years. I think that they would have done that. I just don't know what it is. I think they're going to stick with Cutler. They don't have a dance partner that they could trade him to because they still owe him so much money. And it's not like if Brian Hoyer were playing Brian Hoyer and he were 23 years old like Dak is, oh yeah, I could totally see a scenario where they try and move him. Brian Hoyer is like, I think Brian Hoyer is the same age as my dad. So, not really. I think he's 33, 34, something like that. He's not going to be the future of that team. He's a pit stop. He always has been everywhere he's been. He's always been a stop break or a break stop guy. So I don't see Cutler moving. I really don't. I think he's going to remain right where he is, which is unfortunate for the people of Cleveland, because that situation ain't getting any better anytime soon.
No,
it's a shame.
Is Cutler going to start in Chicago though?
I don't see how you can if Hoyer keeps playing like this, right?
No. As a man who picked Hoyer up off of waivers in fantasy,
that a boy,
and he's 30+ points the last 3 weeks. Like you can't take that guy out now.
Yeah, which I know we don't talk about fantasy on this show per se a whole lot, but tell you what, guys, if you're a daily fantasy football player, Brian Hoyer is he's the most valuable player in daily fantasy football ever. Obviously he's not going to go out there and throw 5 touchdowns like Ben did last week or in week 4, but for what you're going to pay for him, his cost to performance ratio is the greatest in the history of daily fantasy football. He's better than anybody else. For the rest of the year in my daily fantasy, until Hoyer shits the bed and proves to me that he can't be trusted, I'm going with him. And then, a lot of people are afraid to spend the big money on a Julio Jones, which for good, with good cause this past week, or an Antonio Brown or something like that. I'm buying Brian Hoyer for the rest of the year and spending big money on Julio Jones and Antonio Brown moving forward. I'm going with the big wide receivers, and I'm going with this guy who's not going to turn the ball over.
I think that's fair assessment, honestly. The man is an efficient quarterback. Even if he doesn't make the big great plays, he doesn't make turnovers like you said, and he gets the job done.
So, guys, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and it's especially impressive with a team that has nothing on offense.
Speaking of being impressive, though, so another thing that we wanted to look at, so we're a third of the way through the season. We're through week 5 now. A handful of games have already had their bye week, so you've got a couple of people that have only played 4 games. But at week 5, looking at the division leaders, the Patriots are in the lead. I'd have to say that's a pretty big surprise for me because I thought these guys were going to be 2-2 or possibly 1-3 with Garoppolo, considering how bad he looked in the preseason. What has been out of the division leaders? I guess what's been the biggest positive and the biggest negative surprise? What's been the biggest surprise and the biggest letdown for you guys from a team standpoint so far this year? What do you think, Joel?
Well,
or Ryan? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ryan. He cuts in so goddamn much.
Well, the biggest surprise is obviously the Minnesota Vikings this year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anybody expected them to be undefeated at this point. They
With
played
Sam
the Packers
Bradford,
already,
baby.
right? The Panthers. That's with Sam Bradford at the helm.
We
that's
thought
insane.
We thought Minnesota got boned in that trade, but turns out they made off like bandits.
Until Bradford gets hurt again, and then we never hear of his name.
That's in the details, though.
What's been your biggest negative surprise so far, Ryan? Your biggest
I'd
shockingly
have to say
bad surprise.
I'd have to say Arizona.
Okay.
I thought they'd be a little bit better, and they let me down.
Dom, what do you think?
Biggest positive surprise? Probably Dak Prescott, honestly. He's been doing perfectly fine, and he's even made some pretty fantastic plays. Negative surprise? Probably the Jets. They were not nearly as good as they looked to be mediocre, and it turns out they're just flat out terrible. So probably the biggest negative surprise for me.
Yeah, I guess I can see where you're coming from, that they've been terrible, but I guess I expected them to take a step forward this year. And instead they just continue. Hey, Ryan Fitzpatrick didn't throw a pick this past week. Hey, they still got blown out by the Steelers. Joel, what do you think?
For me, the positive is got to be the Oakland Raiders. I've been on this team since the preseason. The Titans played them. They're going to play them again in this season, and they just look like they're getting stronger and stronger every week. And Derek Carr looks awesome. For my negative side, I got to go with Carolina, man. That's the obvious one to me.
Yeah.
I mean, all the turnovers, the injuries we've talked about, a little controversy going on with Cam Newton in a scooter right now. But
yeah, so tell the people about that. I was out late this afternoon, and so I kind of missed it. So he was right. So he's got a concussion. So just tell me if I'm right here. He's got a concussion to the point that he can't play, but he's riding a scooter in traffic, like a Vespa scooter, like a motorized scooter. Go ahead.
One of those things that makes
it looked like a Segway to me, actually, in the pictures I saw.
Oh, well, then he's fine. He can't fall over. It's fine. He can't fall over. Segway.
Yeah.
So he's riding a scooter in downtown Charlotte in traffic without a helmet.
Yeah. This is Big Ben-esque land. You remember when Big Ben was riding the motorcycle with no helmet and almost died, to be honest with you.
So are people reacting to it like, wow, what a dumbass? Or are they blaming the team?
Yes.
How can you let him do that? Or are they blaming who's getting the blame? I guess who's the bad guy to the public in this?
I think it's predictable that Cam Newton's getting the blame, and people are, looking at him like he's not quite bright, making these kinds of decisions.
Racist.
Exactly.
I agree with both Ryan and Joel. I think for my negative, and I'm going to start off negative because that's just who I am. I start and end negative. Yeah, I would have to say the Panthers are for me because, think about it with the Panthers. Aside from Josh Norman, what did they lose on this team? If anything, they gained because they got not Funchess back. They got Benjamin. They got Benjamin back after being on IR last year. So, wow, this offense was completely explosive last year. Cam looked like he was some genetic freak made in a lab or something like that. So he should be even better this year with one more year under his belt. What the hell happened there? I guess I haven't watched every Carolina game. I've only watched 2 of them so far. What the 2 that have been on national television last night, and then opening game against the Broncos. What's happened to this team? What am I not seeing? What has fallen apart? Is it just that their secondary is that bad?
Well, that's definitely a part of it. Ben Wickery lost his job because of Julio Jones, and he's still out there as a free agent right now.
No, actually, he was picked up by the Dolphins today.
Corrected me.
And I don't know what's worse, losing your job in Carolina or getting a job in Miami. I don't know which of those is worse.
Fair point. But the other thing that people aren't really speaking a whole lot about with the Panthers is Jonathan Stewart being out. He's been out the past 3 weeks, and he's a big part of their offense, man. He's reliable, and he can run the ball with a lot more power than Cameron Payne or Fozzie Whitaker. So,
yeah, he definitely takes some of the pressure off of Cam Newton, too, because if they're expecting that run more, then obviously they're not going to be going after Cam specifically as much, and I think that hurts him a little bit.
Do either of these teams, I guess, with the foul, and I guess that's a question we'll get to here in a second. I mean, obviously, I think the Panthers, the most disappointing thing about them is we kind of thought they were going to have I think we all thought they were going to have the division wrapped up by like week 7 or something this year. Do we think that the Falcons are for real? You know, I just feel like every week we're sitting here, you know, Jake says it. He says, man, get rid of Matt Ryan because he's getting ready to fall apart. Get rid of these guys. They're all getting ready to fall apart. And they went into Denver, and they made Denver look like the Panthers. What?
Funny how that works.
Is Matt Ryan for real? Is this Falcons team? I just feel it's so. I guess the most shocking thing to me so far this year is we don't have. Okay, you've got the Patriots. We knew the Patriots were going to be great. Okay, the Raiders are exceeding our expectations, but still, I thought that they were going to be good. But the best 2 teams in the NFC are the Falcons and the Vikings, and they're not winning games because of they're not winning games the way the Chargers are losing games on fluky, ridiculous bullshit every week. They're going out there and dominating people. Are these 2 teams for real? Are these really the best 2 teams the NFC has to offer?
The Vikings, I think, are definitely one of the best teams. The defense is just, I mean, they're knocking the hell out of people. And if Sam Bradford can just not lose the game for them, they're going to be in every one.
Ryan, what do you think? Are these guys for real? Is there a poser amongst them, or are they both contenders?
I definitely think the Vikings are for real. As for the Falcons, I can definitely see them falling apart eventually, but I mean, it might not happen. The Falcons aren't winning games by, I mean, huge margins. They're all pretty close games, which is kind of scary. So I mean, they could have went either way, and they're not against great teams right now. I mean, the Saints aren't playing very good. The Panthers aren't playing very good at all. The Buccaneers, and they're still close games, which is why it's scary. And I could see them eventually falling apart.
You say that, but if you take a look, like for example, with the Panthers game, that was almost like a college game in the sense that the Falcons got up 35-10 in the third quarter, and then they kind of pulled off. You know, they backed off a little bit, and the Panthers scored some garbage time points. You're right; they're not blowing people out, and it doesn't look as dominating as the Vikings. Dom, what do you think? Are either of these teams real, or both fake, both real, one of them real? What do you think?
I think that the Vikings kind of snuck up on us, to be sure, but I think they're the real deal. I haven't seen anything to prove it to the contrary until Bradford snaps his leg in half again, I guess. But until then, they look like the real deal to me. The Falcons are a different story, though. You see, the Falcons, they've had a few seasons like this before. In fact, they've had a great many seasons like this before. Well, they'll get to all the way to their conference championship, and then they'll just fall apart in one game. And it's so odd to see this sort of progression for a team. I think they'll get to the playoffs, maybe, but I don't think they'll last there. They just cannot hold the team together during the playoffs, no matter what weapons they have.
Yeah, I agree. And the most telling stat to me in all of football, the most important stat to me, the ERA of football, if you will, for me, is turnover differential. That is what determines what kind of team you are, and it determines how well you're dominating games. Falcons are +3, so they've had 3 more takeaways than they've had giveaways. And to give you an idea, yeah, their defense has played well. They've gotten a turnover or at least 1 turnover in every game so far this year. At the same time, they've also given the ball up which is better. They haven't given the ball up nearly as much as they have. On the other side of the ball, the Vikings are +11. They are killing everybody in the NFL right now. +11 through 5 weeks. Through 5 weeks, these guys have 11 more takeaways than they have giveaways. And it's not like they have 40 takeaways and 30 giveaways. No, they've had 1 turnover, 1 fumble on a muffed punt is what they've lost all year so far. So that offense is taking care of the ball. That defense is taking the ball away from other people, and they're playing in the NFC North. It's not like they're playing, the NFC East, which actually I can't really say that anymore. The NFC East is better than we thought it was. They're not playing the AFC South. They're playing against some of the best competition in football. Is there Is there a division leader? I mean, looking at the division leaders right now, you've obviously got, we talked about the Falcons and the Vikings, but you've got the Cowboys at 4-1 who are leading the East, and you've got the Seahawks who are leading the West at 3-1. In the AFC, you've got the Patriots leading at 4-1. You've got the Steelers leading at 4-1. The Texans just by default are hanging on to the lead in the South at 3-2, and the Raiders are tied with the Broncos at 4-1. Is there a division leader that really, aside from like the Vikings or the Falcons, is there another division leader that jumps out at you guys?
I think the obvious one's the Patriots.
Yeah.
With Brady coming back on fire right off vacation, and he's throwing 3 touchdowns to Martellus Bennett, reminding us that Aaron Hernandez got a lot of good action back in the day. On
the field.
Not that kind of action. Yeah, on
the field.
Yeah. So when teams are going after Gronk in coverage, Martellus Bennett's going to be wide open. He had 2 touchdowns in the first half, I believe. He had 4 catches with 3 touchdowns at one point. So all he does is catch touchdowns.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Dark horse for the Super Bowl. Anybody who you guys see who nobody's talking about right now, who you see making it into the playoffs and maybe could make a run? You got a dark horse?
Pittsburgh.
You got somebody who you think could make it?
Pittsburgh.
Oh, I mean, Pittsburgh's 4-1. They're leading their division. That's hardly a dark horse.
Yeah, but everybody's like, Pittsburgh, their defense is crap, and I don't know.
They're glass cannon, man, and
I think they're going.
Yeah. Honestly, glass cannon. I think that's not terrible, actually, because people are massively underestimating Pittsburgh because of their defensive failings, and honestly, that is a big problem. But they just have such a power offense that they can more than make up for it in shootouts, unless they're going up against someone like Brady or any other heavy. I don't know. It'll be interesting if they go against another heavy duty offense, but I can easily see them keeping pace with and exceeding most offenses in the league right now.
Yeah. Joel, you got somebody who just jumps out at you, surprises you?
I'd want to go back to the bucket on the Oakland Raiders again, honestly. But I think a lot of people are counting the defending champions out already this year. Even with the little quarterback carousel they've had the last couple of weeks there, Denver's still going to be a strong team. That defense is still the same. So I think a lot of people are counting Denver out a little too early.
Yeah, for me, And this will go into lose, I'll throw out the Skip Bayless prediction of the week so far. I see the Tennessee Titans winning the AFC South. The Colts are a complete disaster defensively. The Texans, in 3 weeks, have completely unraveled, despite the fact that they beat the Titans at home barely. The Texans' offense is so hit or miss. Their defense is mainly miss at this point. I see the Titans catching and surpassing. I see the Titans catching and surpassing the Texans moving forward. I see them getting into the playoffs. Are they going to be able to hang with the likes of the Steelers? Are they going to be able to hang with the likes of the Patriots? Probably not. I don't see that happening. But they're going to be there. Here's the thing I can't figure out, guys. Who the hell, because the AFC, outside of the division leaders and then all of the AFC South, is so bad right now. I don't know who the hell these wild card teams are going to be. The Buffalo Bills, the Ravens, the Colts. Who's going to be these wild card teams in the AFC? I have no idea. In the NFC, I mean, clearly it looks like we're going to have 2 teams from the East. It looks like we're going to have 2 teams from the North. But coming out of the AFC, I have no idea who the wild card's going to be. I'm puzzled right now. Who's going to even be able to come close to that?
You didn't even mention Cincinnati. Tyler Eifert should be back pretty soon.
Yeah,
that's going to be a big piece back to their offense. I personally, I'd pick the Bengals to get that wild card spot over the Ravens.
Yeah.
Either way. But
I don't know, man. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
You're probably going to have a wild card come out of the AFC West because the Raiders and the Broncos are probably going to stay pretty even throughout, I would think, both with pretty good records. So you'll probably get one there.
Okay. Well, we're going to wrap up on the NFL here in just a second. Guys, taking a look at this week's NFL schedule. It's kind of become something that we're doing here, where our Skip Bayless moment, where we're all going to go out there and make a bold prediction. And a bold prediction is not that the Patriots will beat the Browns. It's not a bold prediction, Dom. unless you say by 5 touchdowns, which you were wrong about. Bold prediction. Looking at this week's schedule, what are you guys seeing? Anything that you can say is a for sure lock, a bold lock in this week's schedule?
What you got, Dom?
I'm tempted to say the Saints are going to beat the Panthers.
Yeah, but that's like two blind kids with wiffle bats just swinging them at each other. I mean, that's not. I mean, yeah, one of them has to win.
Fair enough.
Why are you picking the Saints over the Panthers? I mean, Cam Newton's expected to be back. You think that Drew Brees is just going to go out there and gun it with him? You think they're going to run the ball with Mark Ingram to try and keep it out of the Panthers' hands? Quite frankly, actually, with the way the Panthers' offense is going, you might want to put the ball in their hands. They're going to help score you points.
Honestly, I don't know. I think if it comes down to dueling, I think old Drew Brees is better than concussion-riddled Cam Newton. From a dueling perspective, even if the duel is two mentally handicapped children just kind of blind firing.
Lou looks worried.
Holy shit.
What you got, Ryan?
I'm looking at the schedule, and I'm really not seeing a whole lot of games that look like a lot of fun to watch. I mean, Cincinnati and New England will probably be a pretty good game. I think this Kansas City and Oakland game will probably be all right. A lock, though. Could take my hometown Lions against Los Angeles by 2 touchdowns.
That's I mean, the Lions offense really hasn't moved the ball a whole lot over the past couple of weeks, so
They're coming together, though.
They're going to come together. Joel, what are you thinking, man?
And also, the Lions did just sign Justin Forsett today. We'll see what that does for them.
Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Everybody in Detroit, go ahead and book your hotels in Houston. Go ahead and book it. You're going to the Super Bowl. You got Justin Forsett, baby. Yes!
My Skip Bayless lock this week is going to be the San Diego Chargers. They're playing at home against the Denver Broncos, who have been talking up. But Phillip Rivers has spent his entire career down 3 points with 2 minutes left to go. I think he's actually going to pull it off this time. Take the win.
Well, yeah, I mean, a drunk, stupid, fat, alcoholic clock that's broken is going to be right even twice a day. So, I mean, with me with the Chargers looking at them this year, it's amazing the way that some teams find a way to win. There are some teams out there who just every single week seem to pull out some kind of ridiculous magic. We've seen it from the Cowboys so far this year. They've won with a last-minute drive. They've won blowing somebody out. They've won through stellar defense. They've won multiple different ways so far this year. The Chargers find a new way to. It's like they've got a bingo card with all the different ways to lose a football game on it, and they're trying to black that thing out. They're trying to blot the entire board out. They just find a new way, whether it's offense, defense, or special teams. They find a way to lose every week. My bold one, which I was kind of tepid about earlier, I asked the question, but I didn't answer it. I let you guys answer it. Dak Prescott walks into Lambeau Field, rips a victory away from the Green Bay Packers. They control time of possession with Ezekiel Elliott. Cowboys win. Do I trust Dan Bailey or not? I do not. They win 21-17.
I'll answer that for you. The answer is no.
The answer is no. You do not trust Bailey. You do not. Everybody, him and Graham Gano, drop them right now. They're garbage. You need a new kicker. Guys, I wanted to get y'all's take on this real quick. So, something to close the show with. The immortal, the great, the truly blessed Tim Tebow is now playing baseball, apparently, for some bizarre reason. I guess he's going to sell some kind of headphones or something like that. The story coming out of Arizona today. The story coming out of Arizona today is that Tim Tebow was signing autographs, and a fan came up to get. Have you guys heard this story yet?
I have not. No.
Okay, this is completely legit. Apparently, according to Carrie Van Horn of ABC 17 in Phoenix, Arizona, Tim Tebow was signing autographs for fans. A fan came up to him and was apparently so excited after getting his autograph that he stopped and had a seizure. The guy fell over. Tebow places his hands on the man and starts praying, and the man begins to respond as the medical personnel gets there. He saves a man. He brings a man back from the grip of death. I mean, granted, he put him there by exciting the man so much. So, I mean, it's sort of that hero syndrome where, like, some people will go light a fire and then save the people in the building so they get to be a hero. But is Tim Tebow... And actually, there's pictures of it. This is amazing. Dang, I want to be able to show this in the chat. I guess I can't really put a link in there, but if you just go to Yahoo Sports, it's the first thing on the page. Tim Tebow leans over the barrier, and he sits here and he prays over this man and puts his hands on him, and the man wakes up. Is this just the most elaborate marketing scheme by the Mets ever, or is Tim Tebow otherworldly?
I think Tim Tebow is the reincarnation of Jesus Christ himself.
Really?
That's
because according to the Bible,
answer.
Jesus is supposed to be a lot angrier the next time he comes back, and Tim Tebow is very mild-mannered. I mean, he cries when he loses to Alabama, but aside from that, he's very mild-mannered.
I think he's just coming down here just to check things out, and some guy had a seizure, and he's like, "Oh, better save this guy. This is my fault. Don't want God mad at me again." So that's probably what happened.
Yeah, last time God got mad, he didn't let me take the Ford Pinto out past midnight, so can't have that happening.
No, I was just, I mean, this is 3 or 4 stories we've heard now. I mean, I'm just convinced that this has to be some kind of marketing ploy. This has to be something by the Mets, and the Mets are going to start selling, I don't know, Tim Tebow prayer towels or Tim Tebow holy water or something like that. They're going to mark up the cost of their stuff.
Water bottles Tim Tebow put his lips on during practice.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to, yeah, exactly. They're going to sell miracle placemats or something like that at Mets games moving forward, or the Miracle Mets is what they'll call them. I'm just so skeptical of these. Do you guys think that this guy actually has? I was about to say, does this guy have a prayer to be an MLB player? But apparently that's the wrong verbiage to use. Does this guy have a shot at making a big league roster, or the Mets? And I mean, getting away from the whole heal a guy with his hands. Is the Mets just doing this to move some jerseys, right? They don't really have any plans of putting Tim Tebow in their outfield, do they?
No, I don't
really
think so.
No.
Okay.
No. They'll sell some jerseys off of this, but I don't think he's really going to be a consistent player enough to even get to the higher level of the minors, let alone into the big show.
Yeah, I kind of agree. There was one other guy who I wanted to bring up. So Colin Kaepernick was announced today by Chip Kelly that Colin Kaepernick will be starting for the 49ers this week. He's going up against the Bills, who the Bills, we were talking about turnover ratios earlier. The Bills are actually second right now. They have a +9 turnover ratio in the NFL right now. Guys, what do we think? Is this a last-ditch effort? Is this a, hey, look, we need to generate some positive PR for our team? Does Chip Kelly actually believe that Kaepernick is the guy? What are we doing here?
Not everybody at once.
Yeah. I know, hot button topic. Next, I'm going to ask you about abortion and gun control. All right, go ahead.
I definitely think that it's probably just like a last-ditch effort. They're just like, okay, we're failing, let's do something here, and here's Kaepernick with his fro and stuff. Let's see how this goes.
Yeah, which, by the way, looks horrific, doesn't it?
It's the worst.
It is truly
Easily
terrible.
the worst
Like,
thing.
is it just the fro looks bad? Because I can imagine if I saw Shaft wearing a fro, it would look awesome. But it's just him, right? He just looks really bad with it, right?
No, it's really
No,
bad.
it is him. I thought Paxton Lynch had the worst hair in the NFL, but no.
That
all
needs to be a
belongs
list.
to
We
him.
keep up with the guys with the best teeth in the NFL. We need to start keeping up with the guys who have the worst hair. That needs to be something
Absolutely.
we do. Yeah. Well, then, how do you see this? Do you think this is just? I mean, do you think that they actually believe that Kaepernick is going? Because I said a couple of weeks ago on the show when it was asked, do you think that he's being sat out for political reasons? And I said, geez, I hope that Chip Kelly isn't secure enough in his job and his position after the disaster that he created over in Philly. I really hope he doesn't feel secure enough to say, I'm going to play a worse player because I'm going to make a political point about it. Do you think that Chip Kelly really thinks that this guy is going to be a better solution for him and is going to be able to win games? Or do you think they're going to be able to win any games? Do you think that Colin Kaepernick makes the difference in these blowout losses they've suffered so far?
Well, I'm excited to see it for one. I mean, Blaine Gabbert's been playing pretty terribly the last few weeks, so I think there's not really too much conspiracy here behind this decision. I think it's just trying to find something that's going to work. And ever since Chip Kelly went out there, I was wanting to see how Colin Kaepernick could run his system. Even when he's in Philadelphia, people were talking about a trade there. So if Kaepernick can, run a little bit like he used to, I think he could fit that system perfectly and play pretty well. Could they win a lot of games? No, but a couple here or there. I just can't wait to hear all the talk about this in the sports media and the political media too, because this is going to get into the election stuff as well.
Yeah, how do you think he gets accepted by the fans? Do you think he gets booed by the fans there in San Francisco when he walks? Or actually, wait, are they in San Francisco or are they in Buffalo? They're in Buffalo. I mean, okay,
yeah.
so that's unfair. That's unfair. Yeah. He's going to get booed in Buffalo just because he's on the road. He's a visiting quarterback. But say when they go back home in Week 7, are they at home? Yeah, they're at home against the Buccaneers Week 7. Is he cheered when he walks out on the field in Week 7?
I predict dead silence.
Crickets.
You would be able to hear a fucking pin drop.
Which actually, to me, is worse than a boo, because at least people are passionate if they're booing you, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be really dependent on how he plays Week 6. Because if he comes out and does good Week 6, they're obviously going to be pretty welcoming him back. If he plays like crap and then he plays again Week 7, they're not going to be happy about it.
Yeah, I agree. Football fans are I always thought it was just Houston fans were stupid, but no, it's just football fans in general are a fickle bunch. Revenue hides a lot of flaws, and winning hides a lot of flaws. So I've got a feeling that. I think, I agree. I think there might be some awkward silence or some indifference at the beginning, but if the guy's going out there and winning for him, people aren't going to... Dude, we don't give a shit what you're into. We don't care. I mean, hell, hate America? Yeah, I do too. As long as you can win the division, that's fine. But really, do we think that Colin Kaepernick's going to make a difference? Really? With how bad this team has looked on defense?
Unless Kaepernick developed a super accurate arm and can run the ball really well for some reason, then he might make a difference, but I don't see that happening.
No. I don't either. Don't see it. Colin, I'm sorry to tell you, the Riding the Pie and Live crew does not believe in you. But as long as you believe in you, then at least one person believes in you. So.
Well, he has Chip Kelly too.
Man, I think Chip Kelly's playing him because he's trying to pull their season out of a nosedive.
I feel like he's trying to fix a cannonball hole with a wine cork right now. That's what's happening.
That's it. Well, on Dom's very tired idiom, I think we'll close the show right there. Guys, appreciate y'all being here. We're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. Be sure to tune in later this week for RTP or Riding the Pine Fantasy Review with Jake and Lou. We'll probably have an OT going up later on this week. I think Joel and I have some opinions about what's shaken out and what's gone on so far halfway through the college football season, and seeing some of the pretty surprising victories that we saw this past week, and how the polls look completely different. So he and I will probably be putting that up sometime later this week. And everybody out there, appreciate y'all joining us. Be sure to share this with everybody. Throw it out there on Facebook, Twitter, all that kind of good stuff. And appreciate y'all being here. Thanks, guys. Take care of yourselves.